Hi there, this is Dr. Ma'in Hasib with lesson 3 on the topic of equipment, instrument performance, qualification, validation, verification. If you recall, in lesson 1, we gave you a brief introduction and we talk about what is the definition of equipment, instrument performance, qualification, validation, verification. What is the difference between equipment, instrument performance, qualification, verification and analytical method test validation and verification. Who is responsible for performing equipment instrument performance verification? What is the classification of equipment and instruments? What are the CAB requirements for equipment instrument performance verification? And a lesson summary. In lesson 2, we discuss what are the CBAHI requirement for equipment instrument performance verification, and I summarized for you the CAB and CBAHI requirement for equipment instrument performance verification. How do you meet these requirements and how do you perform them, and a lesson summary. In lesson 3, today's lesson, and it's the last lesson on this subject, we'll continue with how do you meet these requirements, how do you perform them, okay? And what is the acceptable criteria for CAB CBAHI for equipment instrument performance verification. When do you repeat the performance qualification or part of it? How long do you keep your performance verification record for, and a subject summary. So let's start with lesson 3. If you recall, in lesson 2, we start talking about the CAB and CBAHI requirement for equipment instrument performance verification, and we covered design qualification and installation qualification. In this lecture, we will continue with that topic or subject, and we will talk about operational qualification OQ and performance qualification PQ. Operation qualification is the documented verification that equipment instrument with all the major component tested function according to its operational design and specification. In other words, fit for the selected purpose used in the selected area and environment. Operational qualification purpose is to challenge if the instrument, system operation, parts, utilities, and other components operation is functioning correctly in compliance to its set specifications as it was described, simulating actual testing conditions, including worst-case situations, by repeated testing sufficient number of times to assure reliable result and consistency. What are the testing activities that you need to do for the OQ phase are as follows. First, you need to check the software functions. As applicable, check critical elements, functions of the application software to show that the whole system works as intended. For example, data capture and analysis, result reporting, security, access control, storage, backup, and archiving at the user site according to written procedures. Also, you need to check the instrument function checks or tests, as all calibrations, cleaning, maintenance, related tests and results should be verified to be acceptable. Also, check for secure data storage, backup, and archiving. As applicable, test secure data handling such as storage, backup, audit trails, and archiving at the user site according to the written procedure. When we say user site, that's your site, okay, your laboratory. Some note regarding this stage. As applicable, training of operators for the new equipment or instrument should be provided or started during this stage and recorded and maintained. The extent of OQ testing depends on the complexity of the equipment, instrument, and on its intended use. Routine, simple equipment may not constitute all of the OQ testing elements I'm gonna mention to you. Some software functions, such as archiving, for example. Manufacturer recommendation and instruction need to be followed. OQ tests are specifically designed to verify the instrument operation according to manufacturer specification in the user's environment. The results for the OQ verification need to be documented in the OQ form called LabGen Operational Qualification Form. As needed, any deviation observed during the OQ step or from the purchase order should be recorded, investigated, and solved before you move on to the next stage. As applicable, equipment instruments should be released for PQ performance qualification or routine use after the satisfactory completion of the OQ. This is the form that you could use for the operational qualification. These are the tests that you need to do, and this is where you record your qualification verification. Okay, for example, software function as applicable, check critical elements, functions, and of the application software to show that the whole system works as intended. Okay, you can say check, and you can put the date that you did that. Instrument function checks. Okay, cleaning, calibration, maintenance. You can say check and check the for example, instrument record or the maintenance folder for the maintenance. Okay, and the same thing with secure data storage, backup, and archiving. You can say tested and put the date that you did that, and if there is any record, you can attach the record to that. If there is any place where you can find the things that support your claim, then you can write it here also. Okay. So performance qualification. Next, we're going to talk about performance qualification, equipment qualification, user acceptance testing, UAT, and analytical instrument qualification. All these things mean the same thing, or analytical instrument qualification. Okay? And the documented verification that the equipment instrument operates according to expectations or required parameters and defines specification prior to initial use and after repair as applicable, like a replacement of critical component or part. Performance qualification also it could be defined as the process of demonstrating an instrument constantly perform according to specification appropriate for its routine use. This step involves a physical examination that tests the device. It's intended to confirm that the device actually works constantly within the specified limit that have been set up by the manufacturer. This is the protocol that confirms that you can actually start using the equipment or the instrument. So this is the step where you're going to need, when you are done with it, you will be able to use the instrument for patient testing. Consistency is important in performance qualification. The test frequency is much higher than in the operation qualification. The PQ should always be performed under condition simulating routine sample analysis. PQ may include the following plan or activities. First, you need technical SOPs done for any test you perform patient results on for that section. The IBBs, they need to be approved by the medical director or designee and acknowledged by all the staff in the section. What else you need to do? You need to do routine preventive maintenance as applicable, daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly as needed. You need to follow manufacturer instructions for that. It needs to be done by you, by the end user. Manufacturer recommendation need to be followed, as I said. PPM, periodic preventive maintenance, usually scheduled and done by the vendor or the biomedical engineering department. Manufacturer recommendation also need to be followed. Each instrument should have a sticker with information related to the status of the system. When the PPM was done, who did it, and the next PPM due date. PPM needs to be documented, including any corrective action in the event of failure. What else you need to do? You need to do calibration for the different tests that you're going to be report patient result on. You need to run as required by the manufacturer or lab policy. Also need quality control, run and document as required by the manufacturer, accreditation body, or your lab policy. You need to do training. You need to do it for the applicable staff. The applicable staff are the staff who are going to be operating this machine or instrument. Need to be detailed and documented on a checklist, a training checklist, initially done by the vendor, later by a trainer who is going to be trained by the vendor. Okay. Also, you need to do test validation verification done using IBP method comparison and validation verification. You need to review it for full detail or go back to the lecture about the validation verification of qualitative and quantitative tests or methods. The result for the PQ verification need to be documented on a form like the performance qualification form, and it need to be approved by the medical director or designee. If any of the results of the PQ are satisfactory, acceptable, then if the results are acceptable, then the equipment instrument can be released and used for patient testing and resulting. As needed, any deviation observed during the PQ steps or stage from the lab IBBs or SOPs and or the result of any of the qualification stages were unsatisfactory or not acceptable or not done, they should be recorded, investigated, and sold before you can use this instrument for patient testing. This is the form I'm recommending for you for the performance qualification documentation. These are the tasks I talked about, and this is where you write your qualification. For example, technical SOPs as applicable, done for the test done in the section. You can put yes, CSOP folder, okay, approved by the medical director, yes. You can put the date that they were approved, acknowledged by the staff, yes, see attach acknowledgement form, and so on and so forth. Some notes regarding the process. Some activities normally undertaken in the operational qualification or performance qualification may be satisfied during the installment, okay, during the installment of the instrument and the startup. This is sometimes referred to as site acceptance testing. There is a need to be logical, specific order to the AIQ activities. For example, installment activities must occur before the operational qualification can start. The end user, which means the medical director or designee, have the ultimate responsibility for the accuracy of the results of the qualification of their equipment or instrument. This is just a table that has the qualification, the phase, the responsibility of who. Actually, and responsibility, I said it could be the user, the vendor, third party. So this is not really accurate. And these are the some of the activities that you need to do during each stage. What are the acceptable criteria per CAB and CBAHI for equipment instrument performance verification? For the design qualification phase, it is considered acceptable if it is done as specified or ordered by the end user, the laboratory, and or per the contract or agreement between the supplier and the end user, or as the supplier claims. For the installation qualification phase, it is considered to be acceptable if the equipment instrument need to be installed per the manufacturer instructions in the right area, in the right environment. For the operational qualification phase, the equipment instrument need to operate or work as the supplier claimed. For the performance qualification phase, the equipment instrument need to perform and give result as needed and expected by the end user. Some note regarding to this item: the result of the qualification phases or station need to be documented on the qualification forms as I stated before, and the PQ need to say very clearly if the equipment instrument can be used for patient testing and resulting or not. Also, as applicable and needed, the manufacturer recommendation, your laboratory policy procedures, the accreditation body standard, and or good laboratory practice need to be followed when you are doing the verification or a performance verification for the equipment or the instrument. When do you repeat the performance qualification or part of it? After a major repair or modification, if required by the manufacturer. So if they replace a part and the engineer told you need to do the performance qualification, then you need to do it again or part of it. Or if an instrument is moved to another location, if required by the laboratory AABBs. When do you repeat the performance of qualification or part of it? You can find the requirement for that in the all comment 30550. From CAB, the performance of all instrument equipment is verified prior to initial use, after major component or service, and after relocation to ensure that they run according to expectation. Instrument equipment performance verification includes a process to verify that the instrument and the equipment they perform according to expectation for the intended use and within defined tolerance limits. Now, how long do you keep your performance verification record for? As applicable, the result of the performance qualification should be recorded on the could be recorded on the qualification form or report, must be signed by the medical director or designee, and must be kept on file for as long as you keep that instrument or use that instrument equipment. Okay, plus 2 more years, that's CAB requirement, 3 more years, that's CBAHI requirement, and 5 years for a blood bank, and that's CAB and CBAHI requirement. You need to keep 2 years for per CAB, 3 years per CBAHI for lab gen, and 5 years for a blood bank per CAB and CBAHI. And this is after the discontinuation retirement of the equipment. Subject summary: the qualification of laboratory equipment instrument is a critical step to ensure the reliability of the analytical data generated by them, to ensure a safe and smooth qualification process, to align with the manufacturing claim and or user requirement or specification. To do this, It is necessary to verify the following actions: that the equipment or instrument is installed according to the manufacturer instructions, the equipment or instrument is operating properly, that the equipment or instrument performs within the requirement determined by the facility, which is the end user, the laboratory, because the requirement for a piece of equipment can vary widely from a company to company. It is important to have a uniform set of steps that will address all the stages of qualification like I described to you in these three lessons. These equipment instrument qualification steps or stages are DQ, IQ, OQ, and PQ. Because the DQ, IQ, OQ, and PQ are performed separately, each should have its own set of verification steps, like I showed you and described to you. Usually, the IQ and the OQ will be done according to the manufacturer instructions found in the equipment or instrument manual. To save time and money prior to delivery of the equipment or instrument, ask the vendor of what they need in order to make the qualification go smoothly, like the space, utility. Each qualification phase or stage needs to be documented and reviewed and approved by the medical director or designee. Documents need to be kept for how long? They need to be kept as long as you keep that equipment or instrument, plus 2 more years per cab, 3 more years per CBAHI, that's for the lab gen, and for a blood bank for 5 years. Any deviation observed during the qualification steps or from the purchase order should be recorded, investigated, and solved before you move on to the next phase or stage or release the equipment instrument for patient use. You need technical SOPs for the new equipment instrument as applicable. Do not confuse test validation verification with equipment instrument validation verification performance. The test validation verification is part of the equipment instrument verification. In short, order it, purchase it, install it, set it up, get it to work, and operate it according to the manufacturer instructions safely with peace of mind. Equipment instrument qualification is a very time-consuming process, yes, but I hope I made it simple and easy for you. Simplicity is a beauty. I am done with this subject, equipment instrument performance qualification validation and verification. For the next subject, please go to cab inspection stages before, during, and at the end of the inspection. Thank you very much for watching.